Okay. Hello, everyone. Welcome to my Odoo experience talk about executing success, how SW Group, a leading corporation, successfully managed their migration to version 18. I'm, to be honest, surprised to see so many faces on a Saturday morning, so I'm glad to see some faces. I will talk today about SW Group. First about BrainTech and myself quickly, then introducing SW Group, what this company is doing, then quickly the journey with Odoo of SW, then the core of my presentation, important steps to a successful migration, and then the learnings we experienced the last 6 months. And then, as always, a short Q&A session. Good, I'm Damian Bürgin. I'm project manager and consultant working for BrainTech since almost 6 years. I'm 37 years old and I'm from Switzerland. And the goal of my talk today is to provide at least one useful information for your upcoming migration, if you're facing a migration the next couple months or years, because I think it's really important to share the experience we all have in the community. Good, BrainTech is Odoo Gold partner in Switzerland, Germany, and Austria. Meanwhile, we're active in 5 countries and we have 85 employees. We were founded in year 2000 and since 2009 we are implementing Odoo, and we're very proud that we meanwhile implemented around 400 times Odoo, and that's maybe also the reason we were already awarded 4 times with the best Odoo Partner Europe Award. Last time 2 years ago. This year we were nominated, but as I heard from the other room, we didn't win, unfortunately. But we give our best to be on that list next year again. So we're 100% dedicated on Odoo. We're not implementing any other software. So please reach out to us if you have any plans or questions. Okay, SW Group was founded in 1914, and they're a leading hospitality and hotel management group in Germany and Switzerland. They have around 450 restaurants and 31 hotels in Germany and Switzerland, and meanwhile around 4,500 employees. And then a very impressive number is they serve per year around 26 million dishes, and they're all managed in Odoo. And what makes me personally very proud, we were a finalist for the Swiss Digital Economy Award last year. So this project also got attention across industries in Switzerland. Also here, unfortunately, we didn't win, but we were very proud to be on that list. Let's talk about where it all began. So 5 or 6 years ago, SW reached out to us because they needed a meal planning workflow. And at the end, what came out is what I prototyped here on this slide. In Odoo, they're planning their meals. So you see, for example, on Monday, they're offering spaghetti and burgers. On Tuesday, we have pizza and club sandwiches. And based on that planning, which is done 2 or 3 weeks in advance, there's an automated procurement triggered. And based on the stock those restaurants have, there are different quantities ordered. And also based on that planning, we have the website on which each restaurant is publishing what they're offering per day. So this was 5 or 6 years ago, the plan. Meanwhile, we extended the system. So you see, we have a demand planning. That's basically what I explained on the previous slide. We have around 500,000 menus planned, or dishes planned in Odoo. Then we also have active, meanwhile, the POS module. We have around 10 million POS orders created per year. Then Odoo is the leading master data management system. That means all the receipts of the menus they're offering are managed in Odoo. Then they also have a catering department. Here they offer around 20,000 catering orders per year. And what is really nice also in finance, the whole turnover of that group is managed in Odoo. So they're sending around 120,000 invoices per year to their clients. So you see, meanwhile, this is really the core system of such a big corporation. So how does the migration journey looks like? So we started in 2019 with version 12. 1 year later, there was the first migration from 12 to 13, which was quite small because we were not live then. So within a couple of weeks, we could migrate that DB. Then in 2022, we had the first bigger migration, migrating from version 13 to 15. And this year, starting in February, we migrated from version 15 to 18. And this is basically the topic of this talk. And just to give you an idea how much work we put into that system, there is almost 3 developers which working full-time on that system, further customizing the Odoo core just to meet the requirements from SV Group. Now let's dive into the important steps to the successful migration we had. So it all started with the migration. So we strongly advise you to do extensive workshops with the client, go through all modules which are installed, and challenge the client whether certain features can be built back and switched to the Odoo core or to the OCA or to OCA modules, etc. So the goal is really to reduce the code, and we also achieved that during the migration, because you all know very often we implement features which are suddenly after years are not needed anymore. So there's a really good opportunity to reduce the amount of code lines here. Then do an extensive code analysis. So very often we hear from partners that they do the so-called clock analysis. That means you just count the lines of code you have customized. You put a price tag on, maybe some buffer, and the budget is done. This is quite dangerous. So we advise you here to take another developer, checking the code, how complex the code is. If a developer who doesn't know the code, doesn't understand the code, then you have a problem. And then you really need to extend the budget and communicate it with the client. Then of course the version jumps, really important. It's harder to migrate from 8 to 18 instead of 17 to 18, so take that into account. And what other impacts we can have is the team. So if you have people who know the project, really try to get those people in the migration project. I will talk about that later. And then also check how many unit tests you have. Because if you have a good coverage of unit tests, then you will have less problems. We saw that also during our project. And based on that, you have a budget. And as accurate, if it's more accurate, then obviously you have less problems during the migration, because you really need the energy for the migration. Then talking about the preparation, the team around SV Group, they prepared 843 test cases before the test phase even started. So that means during the time we have migrated the DB, this took us 3 months. I will talk about that later. During that time, SV prepared everything very well. So we had a project Kanban board, and each business analyst from SV Group, they create the test cases from their department, and they really tried to have small test cases, not big ones. So really try to have them as isolated as possible, because it doesn't make sense to have test cases just to cover a whole workflow. They will never close that test case. So the moment we released the test system, the first one in version 18, they right away started. So we didn't lose any time here. Then the moment when it's clear that the client considers a migration, send the DB immediately to Belgium. those early trials gives you a good indication if Odoo is ready for that database, because in our case, the database was huge. It was over 300 gigabyte. So Odoo struggled a lot with that size. So at the end, it took Odoo around 3 months to give us a first migrated DB. And of course, that cost in all ends lots of stress. But what was really nice, we had a direct point of contact in Odoo. It was Augusto, I don't know if he's here. Doesn't seem so. Yeah, he helped us a lot. We had afterwards meeting with him, weeklies, dailies. So really to have progress here, because both sides, Odoo and on our side as well, we had to sometimes adapt data just to bring that huge duration of 3 months down to an acceptable time, which was at the end 16 hours. And there's no surprise, but I anyway wanted to show you that slide. If you're a client, then really tried to get the people into the project which initially worked on it. Doesn't matter if it's a developer or a consultant, it's really worth to ask the client if certain people are available, and if so, then it's worth to wait, because you will lose a lot of time and a lot of budget if someone comes into the project who doesn't know anything about it. So this is really, really important. And in our case, in SV, it was exactly the same team who did the migration compared to the initial project. And also here, there's no time to waste for experiments. So each developer should migrate the code he knows. Sometimes you hear, yeah, now it's time to spread the know-how. Let's switch some topics. And in my eyes, this is a really, really bad idea. And if you have people coming additionally to the project, give them third-party modules to migrate, or modules which were not part of the project. Then, as you can imagine, as SV has over 1,000 users, SV was really afraid of receiving lots of tickets after the go live, because you all know, for example, the UI changed a lot between 15 and 18. Most well-known topic is maybe the save button, which disappeared in version 17. So they were really afraid that they receive hundreds of tickets during the first days. So what they did, they created AI videos where a guy was explaining in detail everything what changed in the respecting departments. So for example, one video for catering, one for the whole accounting part, etc., etc. And they said that this reduced the ticket avalanche, let's say, drastically. So there were not a lot of tickets with basic questions anymore. Then the go live week is maybe something we benefited a lot from Odoo, because they really explained us in detail how that week should look like. So this is a screenshot from our internal Confluence where we documented everything. So you see on Monday and Tuesday, Odoo is upgrading their scripts. So if you do a test upgrade, always do it on Wednesday or Tuesday evening, because it doesn't make sense if you do a migration on Monday, but on Tuesday they change the scripts, and then on Wednesday nothing works anymore. So during the final week, you see on the right side, the go live was on a Sunday. We really waited Monday, Tuesday until the core scripts were updated. Then we got informed from Odoo, and we did a last test upgrade during the night from Tuesday to Wednesday. And what we didn't know then is when that last test upgrade is successful, then the scripts are frozen. So that means when on Wednesday morning the DB was successfully migrated, we knew that there won't be any issue during the prod upgrade. And this was the case. On Thursday evening, we handed in the DB, and 16 hours later, the DB was successfully migrated. and lots of people were relieved. Then during the Friday, we updated our scripts for our code. On Saturday, again, SB was very well prepared. There were 20 people waiting for the system to be tested. I mean, they didn't do big tests, but they have prepared some test cases just to be sure the ProdDB is really ready and the data are completed. And then finally on Sunday morning, we got the final green light that we can go live with version 18. And they released the system for the 1,200 users. Then about the learnings we experienced during that time. So they were mainly two. As I said before, the DB was huge in SV, and when we handed in the first DB beginning of the year, it was in February, Odoo struggled a lot, and 3 months later we received the DB back, and we then discussed what could be improved in that sense. And when you have such a big project like SV, then it makes sense that you hand in a DB maybe 1 or 2 years earlier already, because then Odoo knows that such a big and sometimes complex database is coming in the future, and they have enough time to update their scripts in order to make them work. So if we would be able to turn back the time, for sure we would have handed in a DB already last summer. But obviously we didn't do that, but for the future we will do that for sure. Maybe even once a year. Then what we also learned the hard way is that we didn't check the data, the migrated data enough. So when you tell the client they have to check the data which were migrated, very often they say, this is a jungle, right? It's so big, the system, how can we check the data? And somehow they're right. But I think it makes really sense to tell the people in charge of the certain departments that they just go through all the form views, all the models, just to check if there are any data missing or if there are wrong data in there. Because we had, for example, big problems with the translations. Doesn't matter on the core fields and on the customized fields. So somehow they were models on which the translations were gone. So this was a really stressful time, but we could reproduce them. And the data quality in general, so for example, on the invoice lines, we faced suddenly some rounding issues because between the versions, the rounding methods, the rounding per line and the global rounding was suddenly changed, and then we had rounding issues. So stuff like that, if you see that during the testing phase, of course, it's way better than the first day after the go live. So this really cost us a lot of stress. So tell the client they have to take the time to click around just to be sure that, yeah, on the most important models, the data are complete. Yes, those are the learnings, and that's it already. This is the QR code, so if you have questions, I'm very happy to answer them. And thank you very much.
Hello. Thank you for the presentation. I'll be
welcome.
reading the question if you want.
Yeah.
Okay, so we have a first question. Would you also recommend for smaller projects to send a DB regularly?
No. I mean, for especially Odoo Online clients or Odoo SH clients, I think it doesn't make sense to do that. But if you really have a big DB where you think that it might be a problem, then I advise to do that. But for smaller project, I think it doesn't make sense.
Second question, what tool did you use to record the training videos?
I think it was Synthesia, it's the name. So check that out. It's really easy to handle. and not that expensive. Synthesia, yeah.
What was the biggest pitfall during migrations?
I think when we experienced that, or those wrong data after the go live, this was really hard and stressful, because you have to imagine if the translations are not correct anymore, the product is, as we all know in Odoo, it's such a core element. It goes to the website, it goes to the POS, it goes to the invoice, etc., etc. And when the translation is wrong, also the allergens, etc., it's wrong. And then it gets also a bit dangerous, as you can imagine. But overnight we could solve that issue also with the help of Odoo. But yeah, during those hours, this was quite a challenge.
What was the biggest change in your eyes between the versions?
I think actually that save button, which disappeared. Because, I mean, for us it was great, and also the core team from SV, they liked it. But imagine a restaurant manager who's mainly cooking the whole day, not really interested in Odoo, and suddenly they start the system the next day, and they don't see an edit button or a save button anymore. So we had a lot of discussion regarding that. But thanks to those AI videos, I think we could reduce the questions here.
Could you use the V19 ESG module for the health score publication?
Yes, good question. So basically, at the moment, we have a external system for which we send the data, and they send us the health score back and the CO2 stamp. And in the future, of course, what I saw now in the keynote, this will be for sure helpful for SV. And I'm pretty sure in the next migration, this will be a topic to implement that feature and going on reducing the complexity of that additional interface to get those data.
What would you have done if the final test run during Go Live week would have failed?
So we did the final test run Monday to Tuesday. So we had one additional day, the Wednesday, which was planned exactly for that case. There was also somebody from Odoo reserved in that case, so we could directly contact them. And yeah, we would have to fix that on one day. Otherwise, we would have to postpone the go live, which would have been worst case.
How stressful was the hypercare phase?
Yeah, that was pretty bumpy, to be honest. Like I said, those issues which we had, and also, yeah, as always, when you go live with such a big system, you cannot test everything. And yeah, we received quite a lot of tickets, but that's not unusual, let's say. But you really have to reserve the resources in order to be able to react immediately. And we also deployed the prod server each day in the evening, so there was not really a lot of time wasting when something occurred.
How do you see the role of AI for you as implementation partner in the future?
Sorry?
So how do you see the role of AI for you as implementation partner in the future?
I think what we did already now, it was not on the slides, but we worked a lot with AI, with Gemini, with GitHub, in order to migrate code, which was really repetitive. And here we also saved a lot of time, also to improve the code quality. And yeah, we don't fully trust those stuff, but of course this helps with the easy code, let's say, or the simple code which needs to be migrated. This helps a lot.
How often would you recommend the upgrade for big projects and SMEs?
Oh, yeah. I mean, it depends what kind of features the new version brings, and if you can really benefit from the new features. I guess this is the answer for the smaller companies, for the SMEs. But for the big ones, I mean, so far, as we all know, the supported versions were 3 years, and SW struggled a lot for that, because when you have such a big customized system, it's quite hard to migrate that all 3 years because it costs a lot. So now SW is really happy that Odoo extended that support, and for sure they will benefit from it. So I don't know to how many years they will go, but for sure at least 5 years. So the next 5 years, I'm pretty sure they will not migrate.
Okay, thank you. That's all the time we had. Thank you
Perfect.
very much for your presentation.
Thank you very much, guys.